Alright, good afternoon everybody, it's your boy Akeem and welcome to today's blog. Here to continue with all my top 5 prospects headed towards the 2014 NFL Draft. Today, as promised, I need to talk about my top 5 guards. I think I have an okay group for you guys, a mediocre group overall. Starting at number 5, I'm going to have to go with Anthony Steen out of Alabama. Now he's a good fundamental and technical solid guard, good blocking ability, and he exhibits good patience in sitting down, punching, and sliding along with a good pad level while blocking. He's a system. He sustains blocks to the whistle, and he has enough power to drive defenders down the field. Now, a couple weaknesses, or one weakness in particular, he doesn't have the great impact blocking downfield into the second level as he is inside the box. He's better a pass blocker than a run blocker. I think he needs to improve as a run blocker and be a better anchor blocker, getting downfield to help the running game for offenses. That's why I have him at number 5. At number 4, I'm going to go with Gabe Jackson out of Mississippi State. And this is a big kid, 6'4", 340 pounds. Now he shows a lot of good raw power, but he has a complement with good nimble feet and bounce. He has good bounce to go along with his power. And also he uses his legs well to keep them turning to push defenders downfield. I do like his power, and defenders just actually have a hard time disengaging once he locks into the defenders, which is a great thing, and that's what you look for in an offensive lineman. Now weakness that he has is that he doesn't feel quite comfortable in space, particularly getting to that second level, and he sometimes zones out, meaning he sometimes zones too much into his block, the block that he has right in front of him, as opposed to using his peripheral vision and swiveling his eyes and his surroundings and helping out with other blocks with his offensive tackles or whoever is beside him. He needs to stop focusing too much, needs to not tend to focus too much on the block that he has in front of him, but also blocking around in his surroundings. That's why I have him at number 4. At number 3, I'm going to have to go with UCLA's Xavier Su'a-Filo. Now he's smaller, probably the smallest guard that I have so far, 6'3", 305 pounds. But he runs a 4.240, which is pretty decent. Hopefully he can increase that speed just a little bit. But he's very powerful. He has impressive upper body strength. So in the draft combine, in his workout, I'm really looking forward to see his bench press results. I hear he's very, very explosive on the upper body, and he's very strong. And that's why I have him at number 3. He also shows good lateral agility and balance in pass protection, which is an outstanding feat. And I told you before, say it again, NFL is more of a passing league, and pass protection is very important. And he also possesses great athleticism to be used in multiple blocking schemes that shows his versatility. Now, due to his size, he tends to lose leverage sometimes upon contact, so that size thing could be a little bit of a concern, but not too much. I still think he's a great guard, and I have him going in the second pick, in the second round, or in the early 3rd round of this year's draft. At number 2, I'm going to have to go with Cyril Richardson out of Baylor. Now he has a massive frame, 6'4", 348 pounds. A large frame, also to go along with a large wingspan to engulf defenders. And he uses his feet and weight very well, surprisingly, at 348 pounds. Now, with that weight, I think he still needs to be considered being more careful with his weight, but I still think he uses it very well for his size, and he actually shows a little bit of grace at the guard position. Now, also, he needs to be a little bit more aggressive in his blocks. He tends to sometimes wait for the defender to get to him instead of going after the defender, even though in pass protection you kind of have to be patient, but sometimes you need to attack every once in a while, and he doesn't really attack too much. He needs to be just a little bit more aggressive and more tough. And at number 1, I'm going to have to go with David Yankee out of Stanford. Now this kid was a 2-time All-American, and I was about to say Daddy Yankee, the rapper, the reggaeton rapper, but he's still an outstanding player, 6'5", 314 pounds, and he runs a 5.140, the fastest of my top 5. Now he is another great producing offensive lineman coming out of Stanford, like Jonathan Martin and David DeCastro. They're still producing great linemen from Stanford, and he had a great career, and he actually led Tyler Gaffney to rush for 1,709 yards this past season, and it was really due to his efforts in paving the way to being a good pulling guard, and I think he could do the same in the National Football League. He's a natural athlete, good body control, and he has great lower body explosion which is an outstanding trait about him. Now, sometimes he allows his pads to rise up a little bit. Once contact is hit, he needs to use his knees a little bit better. He needs to improve as a knee bender. That is one thing he does need to work on. Now, also another thing we need question is in place: his toughness, due to what we saw this past season for the Miami Dolphins and Jonathan Martin. Now, yes, he is not Jonathan Martin, but he did come from the same school, so his toughness is a little bit of a concern because he's actually not known to be a tough player as well, even in the college rankings, even though he is a two-time All-American. But I still think he could be a good first-round pick of this year's draft, and there are some teams who is going to need a pulling guard, and he is my #1 guy. Now, I have a couple of honorable mentions for you guys. Ryan Groy out of Wisconsin. He's a good pulling guard who helped pave the way for Melvin Gordon and James White, rushed for over 1,000 yards each. Chris Watt and Zach Martin, as I mentioned yet on my last video, my top 5 offensive tackles, I mentioned that Zach Martin can convert to the guard position, and I think a team might convert him into the guard position, and that's why I have them both as an honorable mention to go along with his teammate Chris Watt from Notre Dame. Now, my sleeper this season, we're doing a lot of research, and I actually noticed one particular guard that I do like, and that is Spencer Long out of Nebraska. Now, the Big Ten leading rusher this past season was Amir Abdullah from Nebraska, rushed for over 1,650 yards this past season and 9 rushing touchdowns, and it was due to more of the efforts from Spencer Long, who I think is just a little bit underrated, and I noticed that a lot of people have him going in the late rounds, possibly in the 7th round of this year's draft, and I think he needs just a little bit more credit. I think I have him more as a 5th, 6th round selection. Still a low pick. He needs to increase his speed and toughness, but I still think he's a good pulling guard, and he can help a running game for any team in the National Football League. That's why I have him as a sleeper, mainly due to the performance of Amir Abdullah this past season. I think he could do the same for a team in the NFL. Now, next time I'm going to catch you guys is on Friday, where I will wrap things up with the offensive side of the ball with my top 5 centers. Thank you for watching today's blog from Pro Football Exclusive. I'm your man, Keenan McCall. Be easy.